With Robo, I've been getting a lot of requests, a lot of questions about how I feel about the cops, and I'm going to tell you like this: I have always been a law-abiding citizen, always under the radar. You know, I did a little dirt in my life. I ain't gonna lie about it, but I'll never tell what I did. The
Some
fact,
things.
yeah, some things, and the statute of limitations is over for them. But this is a fact here, okay? All right. I mean, I'm watching, one of my favorite YouTubers, Officer Tatum. If you haven't checked out his channel, you really need to. He gives you perspective on different cases, through an officer's eyes. He's a retired officer. So, I'm watching today and I'm hearing today, and people are asking me about my opinion about defunding cops. I say, do it. That's right. And I think every single police person in America should go on strike for 1 week. No, let's do this. 1 month. To remind these Neanderthals what role you play in society. Because in about 1 week, that's when the crime is going to skyrocket and everybody's going to be like, we need some help. Oh my God. And the police are on strike. They don't want to do anything. So we can't look to them for help. President Trump, you've got to help us. And you know what's going to happen? The Corps is going to be at your door. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're going to have what's called a military state, where the military responds to these calls, where the military uses their laws to deal with criminals. And if you think for one damn second that police are really bad, you have never had an encounter with a military policeman or a military policewoman. You have never had an encounter with them. Because they walk in, they say, on the ground. You don't get on the ground. You are not going to be politely, get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the ground. They are going to take out their baton and they're going to beat your ass until you fall on the ground. And then you're going to be arrested and taken to the brig to sit your stupid beaten up ass there until you realize this is probably not the way you want to go. Now, yes, granted, there were a few cases where the police did wrong. And all these peaceful protesters are sitting there crying about being clumped in with these rioters. We were peacefully protesting. The rioters came in and destroyed everything. Why can't you make that separation? Well, gee, I wonder if you asked a cop right now that was a good cop, that has been a good cop for all his life, how he feels or she feels being clumped in with a couple bad cops. I think you'd have a really nice conversation about your feels. So if you think for 1 minute I'm going to sit here and agree that it's an epidemic, it's a pandemic, it's really not. Out of the 335 million people in America, give or take a few 10 million, I don't know. I don't keep count of that crap.
Go to the Census Bureau for that shit.
Yeah. And then add a few illegal aliens to it. Out of all them people, there were 1,000 crimes, murders, felonies, whatever, committed last year. Out of those 1,000 crimes, and I'm using a round number, there was probably more than that. 335 of them were committed by black people. And I'm putting you on the spot here. The rest were committed by other colored people. White people, Mexican people, Chinese people, whatever colored people. But 335 of them were committed by black people. And out of them, since we're talking about black versus police brutality, 10 cases were flagged as police brutality and excessive force. Out of the 10 that were flagged as that and investigated, 2 were actual cases. And those 2 actual cases, the police that were involved were reprimanded properly, whether they were sent to jail or whatever. They were reprimanded. Now, let's look at that number. 2 out of 335, out of 1,000, out of 300 million people. And you're telling me it's a pandemic? It's an epidemic? It's something to give pause to? It's really not. Do you know that it is more likely for a white person to be killed by a cop than it is a black person to be killed by a cop? But Officer Tatum was right about this. There's one way to solve this. There's one way to solve all this brutality. All this whole thing. Don't commit crimes. And of course, if you're like me, get better at committing crimes. Not saying that the police should look into my life right now. You know, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just being me. But the fact of the matter is that you constantly whine that your people are singled out because you are black. Then explain to me, why are there white people in prison? Why are there Mexicans in prison? Why are there Chinese people in prison? Why are there Arabians in prison? Why? If your people are being singled out, the prisons should be full of black people, not any other color. The fact of the matter is this. You make up 13% of the United States population. You are responsible for over 50% of the crimes committed. So of course, there's going to be some confrontation with the police. And you know what? You know what a real fantastic statistic that we're missing here? I would be on board with this police brutality thing if you cared about all people that suffered from police brutality. Then it would be an across the board, across color lines crime. And I could get down with that. Because then we're not picking and choosing which thing we're arguing about. We're not asking Lady Justice to unblindfold herself and see, hey, this person is black. We should go easy on them. No. No. Lady Justice is blindfolded for one reason, and one reason alone, so that we all get the same amount and prudence of justice. We all are held accountable for our own actions under the law. Now, when we were growing up, when we did something bad, our parents would whoop us, put us in the corner, or send us to our room. And we stay in that room out of fear if we came out that room, we would get another beat down. That's the same way this works with adult life and the law. If you don't want to go to jail, if you do not want to deal with the police, if you do not want this to happen, don't do crimes. Don't do bad things. Then you can't get punished. It's simple. It is so simple, it's dumb. I tell my kids this. If you don't want to be punished, don't act out. Hello? Are you saying you are not smarter than a 13 and a 14-year-old? Hello? Now, I'm going to touch on another topic that white people will not touch on because, oh my God, we're afraid it might upset somebody. Well, we know all on my channel, I'm all about upsetting people. I'm all about making you mad. But I'm also all about making you think. I'm tired of this nonsense, this racism, this hatefulness. When in everything you find racism, then ask yourself, challenge your own mind. Is it others or me? If you find racism in everything, that's you. That's your thinking. That's the way you think. And nobody is in charge of your thoughts except for you. And I don't care if you tell me, and please don't tell me, that it's because of the way we grew up that we're thinking this way and that way. No, that's the way you think because that's the way you want to think. You want to think that way because it's easier. It doesn't bode a challenge to think another way. No, I'm not down for Black Lives Matter. All lives matter. You are not God. And you are not able to judge whose life is more precious than whose. I don't see any memorials. I don't see any I'm sorries. I don't see any tears dropping or riots or protesting going on because of all the people that were killed in the riots. You did that. Not white people. You did that. And the ignorant white people out there that bow down and say, I'm sorry for being white. I'm sorry for the pain you go through. Have you ever stopped to think the pain that they go through is self-inflicted? Have you ever thought about that? Have you people ever thought that you inflict upon yourself your own pain and suffering? You don't have to do crimes. You could go get a job and do it the proper way. You don't have to burn down businesses and steal from people. You could do it the honest way and the polite way and the proper way, the way the Constitution meant for it to be, in a peaceful protest. The rest is just vandalism and criminal behavior. And then in a month, 2 months, 3 months, you're going to cry, oh, the white people are keeping me down. There's no big businesses in my neighborhood where I could go and get a job. Well, you know what? You did that to yourself. You're the ones that burned down that store. You're the ones that stole from that store. They don't want to be around you because they don't want to take the risk of you doing it again. It's called self-inflicted. And I will not be responsible for your self-inflicted wounds, injuries, or sickness. That's on you. And before you holler out, well, you don't know what it was like to be a slave or descended from slaves. The Irish people were slaves, and I'm Irish. Hi. Oh, did you think just the people that were slave masters and came over on the Mayflower were the only white people alive? Irish people have been oppressed and vassals of someone else all their damn lives, even currently till today. And you think you have a problem? Now see, I'd be down with this slavery excuse if you were bitching and moaning about the slave markets in the Saudi countries that still are on today, that capture and sell fleeing African refugees in France and other places. Then I'd be down for your movement. But because you only want to talk about something that happened, 50 to 70 years ago here in America? When Martin Luther King Jr. stood up and said, I have a dream. Yeah, that man was dreaming. He was dreaming that people would actually grow up, get some damn intelligence, and think for themselves. But it's easy to blame other people. It's not that easy to take responsibility for your own actions, your own self-inflicted wounds, your own self-hatred. There is not a white person alive these days that considers the color of your skin when considering the person you are. And if it is just like your own racism when you see a white person. It's called a self-defense mechanism. I look at all people the same. I'm suspicious of all people. So really, you can't tell me I give a damn what color you are. Start thinking with your own mind. Think about the consequences of what these riots are going to do and the looting are going to do. You're going to lose businesses. You're going to lose jobs. You have destroyed your own people's businesses and lives and livelihood. You have destroyed your own communities, and you cannot tell me that all out-of-state people did it, because there was an out-of-stater who went to a peaceful protest, but when she saw it was turning bad, she started to leave and she was hit by a stray bullet and killed. So when you ask other people to get involved with your peaceful protests, maybe you should make sure they're going to be peaceful. And if I ever attend a protest, it better be for all walks of life, not just one. Because I live by the rule, if it's wrong for one, it's wrong for all. You are inflicting self-injuries. You are yelling and shouting, and no one wants to hear it, because there is no one on this earth of any color or creed that wants to hear yelling and shouting. As for defunding the police stations, do it. I dare you. I double dog dare you. I triple dog dare you to the highest dog dare you could ever dog dare anyone. I double dog dare you. And you know what? You'll be reminded in about a week's time what role police play in society. They are the ones that stand in between good people and things that go bump in the night. And I should say no one would want a military state. Those that have been in the military and know about military police, you might want to update these people on how it works in the military. It's not a pretty sight. Anyway, I've wasted enough of your time. I'm going to tell you this. I want everyone to challenge their own thoughts. If you see racism everywhere, is it others that are racist or you? If you want to tear down statues because they symbolize racism, yet you don't even know your own damn history, nor America's history, then do they symbolize racism? Or do you symbolize racism? If you can't be across the board with unlawful things like police brutality, then why do you expect others to jump aboard with you? This is my point. You make it sound like everyone is bad except for you. And excuses can be made for our actions by saying everyone is bad except for me. You need to take responsibility for your own actions. You need to take responsibility for your own self-inflicted wounds. You need to stop blaming others for your bad behavior. And you need to take responsibilities for your own hatred and your warped mind. Now, if I made you really mad tonight or this morning, do leave a comment. But you've made me really mad. Because of the riots and the nonsense, I had to sit here and watch a man who fought for your worthless hides freedom to be ignorant, have a bad night because of you. So when you ask me, do I have sympathy for your cause? Hell no, because you have no sympathy for the people that care. You have no sympathy for the people that gave you that right. You have no sympathy for law and order, and you have no sympathy for anybody but yourself. And I'm taking responsibilities for my actions. I said all this, and I will debate anyone who brings it. Except for you better bring facts and evidence. Because just like you protesters out there whining you're being clumped in with the rioters, maybe you should ask those cops out there who have died in the line of duty, protecting people like you from criminals and bad people, how they feel being clumped in with a few bad apples. Maybe you should ask that cop who served on the force for 40 years what it feels like to be dead now and have people walk by him while he was bleeding out and all they wanted to do was videotape it for their social media. I hope whoever did that, you get the death penalty and they put it on TV so I could watch you fry. How many more injustices must happen for your inadequacies, your actions, and your self-inflicted wounds. And that's real with Robo.